The key to your success already exists inside of you. You just have to find it. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go on some soul-searching journey, but this does require some self-analysis. And that's because this has been negatively reinforced our entire lives. If I gave you a list of your top 10 strengths and your top 10 weaknesses, which would you look at first? Well, 70% of you, based on Gallup's research, would focus on your weaknesses. And this has only been reinforced our entire lives. When you bring home your report card, your parents look at what? The lowest grade. 77% of parents focus on the lowest grade instead of the highest grades. It doesn't matter that I brought home 3 A's, it matters that I brought home 1 D. This is a naturally occurring phenomenon called hedonic motivation. It explains why we have more of a desire to move away from negative things than we do to move closer to positive things. The key to your success lies in your strengths, not your weaknesses. If you're operating within your strengths at work, you're more likely to be engaged, more likely to have a higher job satisfaction, and more likely to make more money over your lifetime. In the late 90s, a psychosocial analyst named Don Clifton realized that there were so many jack-of-all-trades, and what they were doing is they were looking at their weaknesses and spending so much of their time bringing their weaknesses up to average. And all this did was create mediocre employees. We didn't have any shining stars. And think about all of that time that they spent working on their weaknesses. He realized that all of that time could have been much more productively used, focusing on our natural talents to build great things. I'm not saying that weaknesses aren't important. You need to know your weaknesses so you can understand how to cover them up. And there's 2 ways of going about that. First way is to find what strengths can make up for your weaknesses, and the second way is to find a separate person that can make up for your weaknesses. An example of option number 1 is my verbal communication. I don't have the best verbal communication, but what I can do is collect information and arrange that information. So as long as I'm doing those 2 things before I communicate, my message comes along much more clear. An example of option number 2 is still with verbal communication, but I'm really good at forming close relationships. So when I'm communicating to those people, they can help me through getting my message across. They know to be a little more patient with me in verbal communication settings. Focusing on your strengths is going to set you apart from the crowd, and that's going to be your ticket to success. The whole concept of strength-based learning is that we're better together. You want to have 10 great things that you do and find someone else that has 10 great things that you don't do. And together you can do even better things than you can individually because you have 20 great things instead of 100 mediocre things. We really only talked about the why of strengths today, and the how and what of strengths would be far too long for one video, so we're going to be hitting that continually in many other videos, don't worry. If you want to get started, and you struggle with self-analysis a little bit, Don Clifton, psychosocial analyst, created an analysis tool called StrengthsFinder. You can look it up on strengthsfinder.com, go to their assessment section. They have 2 different versions. It's the same test, and the test just spits out 34 different strengths along a spectrum of strengths to weaknesses. The more expensive one at $50 gives you the full spectrum of 1 to 34, and the less expensive one at $20 gives you your top 5 so you can start focusing on your strengths. Now, I'm not saying that you need these tools, but if you struggle with self-analysis and you can't find your strengths, or you want a more scientifically approached strength process, these tools might be good for you. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit that like button so that way I know this is the type of content you're interested in. And if you want to be a part of our community, I'm putting out 2 to 3 videos every single week geared towards giving you the tools to succeed. I'm proud of you, I love you, and I'll see you next time. That was gross. Oh. I need a smoothie break. You guys didn't know I kept the table back here, did you? Good.